welcome back. In the last video, we learned what a continuous loop looks like and why the weak links become strong links as soon as the loop is perfectly connected. So if you haven't seen that lesson, please go back and watch it before continuing here, okay? Great. Today we're going to look at several examples of continuous loops of various lengths and shapes and also containing many different combinations of candidates. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, first let me explain how I'm going to handle drawing the arrows, i.e. the links in these sometimes very long chains. As always, we will use blue arrows to denote strong links, and we will use green arrows to denote weak links and surrogate weak links. And for those of you who have not seen all my videos, a surrogate weak link is what we call a strong link when we use it as a weak link in a chain. And whenever we have a link within a cell, if the candidates are far enough apart, I'll draw the link like this or like this. But if the candidates are too close together, I'll just leave it blank and you will know there is a link in there because you'll see a strong link coming in and a strong link going out. Or you'll see a weak link coming in and a weak link going out, which will imply that there is a link of the opposite flavor in between. And I also want to avoid drawing arrows that cut through loop candidates and/or elimination candidates because you won't be able to see them clearly, like this. So what I'm going to do is when I want to bypass one or more candidates, I will draw two arrows like this. But just know that it will represent only one link as both of the arrows will be the same color, okay? Now remember, in a continuous loop, the original strong links are never going to produce any candidate eliminations. Why? Because, for instance, if there were another candidate 3 in this row, then this would not be a strong link, okay? And if there were another candidate 1 in this column, that would not be a strong link. And if there were another candidate 2 in this block, that would not be a strong link. And if there were another candidate in this cell, in this by-value cell, that would not be a strong link. So the strong links are necessary to construct the loop, but after that, it is the weak links that are going to produce all the candidate eliminations. Those links started out weak, so there can be other candidates in the houses and cells in which they lie, and it is these additional candidates in those houses and cells that can be eliminated. This is because as soon as the loop is connected and closed and perfect, all the weak links are converted into strong links by virtue of the implications of the chain. Okay, we're going to look at lots of examples today, so before we start talking about the ins and outs of putting these loops together, let's get a couple of quick ones under our belt just to get a feel for what we're dealing with and so I can figure out how I'm going to mark everything. So here in this puzzle, we've got a naked pair of 2 and 3 in row 2, and we can make a strong link between those two 3s, okay? Then we're going to make a weak link down to this 3, strong to the 7, weak to this 7, strong to that 5, and then we're going to make a weak link over to this 5 in column 1. And then there are only 2 5s in that column, so we can make a strong link to that 5, weak to that 2 in that cell, and then we can make a strong link back to this 2 up here in the first cell and make a weak link to that 3. So that makes a continuous loop. And now I'll draw the links. So we've got a strong link between these two 3s, right? Then we've got a weak link down to this 3, and I'm going to have to do it like this so we don't cut into anything. That's a weak link. Then we've got a strong link to the 7, and then weak over to this 7. Got it? And then we're going to have strong to this 5, but there's not enough room to draw it, so then we've got another weak link over to this 5 in column 1, so we're going to make 2 arrows to make one link. And then we've got a strong link down to this 5, because there are only 2 5s in that column, then a weak link to the 2, and finally a strong link up to this 2, which will weakly link back to the original 3. So there's your loop. So now all those weak links have been converted into strong links. And since we have a weak link in column 5 on candidate 3, we can eliminate all other 3s from that column. And we've got one there, and we got one down here. You have to look in the whole house, so you have to kind of go past where the link is to see that 3 down there. And then we've got a weak link on the 7s in block 5, so that means all the other 7s in that block are false, and so there are 3 more eliminations. Then we've got a weak link on candidate 5 in row 5, so that means this 5 has to be false. And then finally, we've got a weak link between the 2 and the 5 in this cell here in row 6, column 1. And that means this 7 and this 8 are both false because either the blue 2 or the yellow 5 must be true in that cell. So that's 9 eliminations from that loop. All right, let's go to the next one. Now we're going to have to move a little faster now, or this video is going to be 3 hours long. But don't worry, we'll slow down here and there and dissect a couple of them. Here in this diagram, we have a continuous loop that only uses 2 candidates. So we're going to start on this 6 up here and make a strong link to that 6, weak to that 6, strong to that 6, weak to this 6. And then we're going to make a strong link to this 8, okay? And then we've got a weak link to this 8, strong to that 8, and then we connect back to the beginning with a weak link to the 6. So here's what the chain looks like. And notice that there is a skyscraper hidden in there on candidate 6. We have strong, weak, strong. But there are no eliminations to be made as a result of that skyscraper. But by extending it by this weak link up to this 6, that allows us to connect the 2 endpoints with those 3 8s to make a loop. All right, so in column 2, we have a weak link between those 6s, so these 2 6s are false because they can each see a blue and a yellow 6. And then in block 5, we have a weak link between these 2 8s, but that weak link is also within row 4. So that means we can eliminate all other 8s from both of those houses. So these 2 8s down here in the block are false. And then these 2 8s in the row are also false. All 4 of those 8s are false and can be eliminated. Now there are no eliminations to be had from this weak link on the 6s that lies in column 5 and in block 5. So up here in our original cell we have a yellow 8 and a blue 6. So that means this 3 can be eliminated as false. So we have 7 eliminations as a result of that continuous loop made from just 2 candidates. All right, let's go to the next one. Here in this diagram, let's start on this 7 and make a strong link to this 7. Now in a continuous loop, you can start on any candidate and you can go in either direction and you can start with a strong or a weak link. But when you're first starting out, you don't know that you're going to end up with a loop. You may just end up with an AIC type 1 or type 2. So it's probably a good idea to always begin with a strong link. So next we're going to make a weak link to this 7. Then a strong link to this 9 in the by value cell, weak to this 9, strong to that 4, another by value cell, weak to this 4 up here. Then we're going to go strong to this 4, weak to the 1, strong to this 1 down here. Now we could make a weak link to this one or this one, but then there's no strong link coming off of either one of those ones, so you don't want to go there. So we're going to make a weak link to this 3 instead, and then we can make a strong link to that 3, weak to the 8, and finally strong to that 8, and then connect with a weak link back to our first candidate. So here's your chain. And now because we have a weak link between these 2 7s in row 8, this 7 must be false. We've got a weak link between these 2 9s in column 9, so these 2 9s are false. Okay, then we've got a weak link between these 2 4s, so this 4 is false because it's in the same column with a blue 4 and a yellow 4. Then we've got a 3 that's going to be false because it's in a cell with a blue candidate and a yellow candidate. Then down here, this link, this weak link between the 1 and the 3, that's a by value cell, so that's a surrogate weak link. That's a strong link that we used as a weak link, so there are no other candidates in that cell to eliminate. And now we go to this cell and we've got a 3 and an 8 that are blue and yellow, so this 1 has to be false. And then we go back to our original cell and we've got a blue 7 and a yellow 8, so this 2 must be false. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 eliminations. All right, next one. Remember how I always say that conjugate pairs and bi-value cells are the superstars of your chain or your loop? Well, here we have 4 conjugate pairs and 2 bi-value cells, and we can hook them all together. So we've got a strong link between these two 3s, that's a conjugate pair. We've got a strong link between these two 9s, that's a conjugate pair. Then we have a strong link between these two 1s, another conjugate pair, and then between these two 5s. Those are 4 conjugate pairs, the 3s, the 9s, the 1s, and the 5s. And then we have a bi-value cell here with 5 and 6. And then we have a bi-value cell of 6 and 3. So here are the conjugate pairs. And then here are the weak links that will connect them. And notice that there is a strong link between this 6 and this 3 up here, and there's another strong link between this 5 and this 6 down here. So we've got 6 strong links and 6 weak links for a total of 12 links. So now because of the weak link in this cell, we can eliminate the 5 and the 6. Okay? And because of the weak link in this cell, we can eliminate this 5 and 6. And because of the weak link in this cell, we can eliminate this 4, and we can eliminate this 6. And then because of the weak link in this block, we can eliminate all the other 5s in that block. Okay? And now this weak link between the two 3s, there are no 3s in column 9, but there is a weak link on the 6s, and we have 2 6s in column 9. So I think that is 10 eliminations. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 eliminations because of those 4 conjugate pairs and the 2 bi-value cells that we were able to link together. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, this one is composed of only 3 candidates. We've got strong to the 6, then weak to that 6, strong to that 9 in the bi-value cell, weak to this 9, strong to the 8 in that bi-value cell, then weak over to this 8, and then strong to this 8, and then weak back to the original 6. So here's the chain. And so we've got a weak link between the 2 6s in column 1, and you have to look all the way down here to get these candidate eliminations, but there are 3 6s that are going to be false because they lie in the same house with that weak link up here. So remember, you have to check the whole house. Then we've got a weak link in row 4 between the 9s, so we've got 1, 2, 3 9s are going to be false. And then we've got a weak link between those 8, so this 8 is also false, right? And then we're going to be able to eliminate this 9 from the first cell because we have a yellow 8 and a blue 6 in the same cell. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 candidate eliminations from only 3 candidates in our loop. All right, let's go to the next one. A lot of people write and ask me, how do you know where to start looking to find the beginning of a chain or a loop? And this is a good question. The answer is that you cannot actually know. You just have to look for the signs that there might be an AIC of some kind hidden right in front of you and go from there. The key is this: strong links. It's really as simple as that. And there are 2 very important reasons for this. First, when you are constructing a chain or a loop of any kind, every other link has to be a strong link. And second, when it's time to put a weak link in a chain or a loop, as you are alternating the links, you can always use a strong link as a weak link, because a strong link obeys the definition of a weak link. If A is true, then B is false applies to both strong and weak links. As you are constructing the chain or loop, the original strong links can only be in the form of conjugate pairs and or bi-value cells. So when you see large numbers of conjugate pairs and bi-value cells, it will indicate a high probability of finding a chain or a loop. I know I keep repeating this, but it's very important. Conjugate pairs and bi-value cells allow you to be sure that if one of those 2 candidates is false, then the other must be true. If A is false, then B is true. This is the formal definition of a strong link. Weak links are always all over the place. They are a dime a dozen. But you cannot construct a chain or loop without strong links. What I do is I look for 1 or 2 short X chains of say 3, 4, or 5 links, and then try to use them as segments of a much larger chain by connecting them with small sequences of links using other candidates, kind of like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. Let me show you what I mean. So here in this diagram, let's turn on the filter for candidate 1. And I hope you can all see that there is a turbo fish in here that goes strong, weak, strong, and that looks like this. Okay? But the only cell where we could make a candidate elimination from that turbo fish is right down here in row 8, column 3. But there's a 5 in there, so there's nothing to be gained from this turbo fish. So now let's turn on the filter for candidate 8. And we have another turbo fish on candidate 8. We have strong, weak, strong, and that looks like this. Okay? And again, the only cell where we could make an elimination from this turbo fish is here in row 8, column 3. But there's a 5 in there, so there's nothing to be gained from that turbo fish either. But let's look at those two turbo fish at the same time. Notice that one of the endpoints of the turbo fish on 1 and one of the endpoints of the turbo fish on 8 land in the same cell. So that means we can make a weak link between them, and now we have a 9-link AIC. And because this AIC begins and ends with different digit candidates that lie in two different cells that can see each other, this is an AIC type 2. So we know that the 1 cannot be true in the end cell, and there's no 1 in here. And the 8 cannot be true in the start cell, and there is an 8 in there. So we can eliminate this 8. Okay? But that's from the AIC type 2. But if we can figure out a way to connect this yellow 8 up here and this blue 1 down here in column 3, we're going to have a continuous loop, and we're going to get a lot more candidate eliminations. So let's get rid of this chain. So because we came into this 8 on a strong link, the next link needs to be weak. So we could go to one of these 8s down here and make a weak link to either one of them, but there's no strong link coming off of either one of those. So that's not going to do us any good. So if we go to this 7, there's no strong link coming off of that 7 either. But if we make a weak link to this 6, look at in column 3, there's another 6 down here. That is a strong link. There are only 2 6s in that column. And there's a 9 in the cell that contains this first 1, and we can make a strong link between this 9 and this 9, and now we have a continuous loop that looks like this. And so now we can make candidate eliminations in all the houses and cells where we have weak links. So here in block 5, we can eliminate this 1 because there's a weak link between those two 1s. And then there's a weak link between the 1 and the 8 down here, so we can eliminate that 9. There's a weak link between the 8s in block 2, but there are no other 8s in that block. There's a weak link between the 8 and the 6 in this cell, so this 7 is false. And because we have a weak link between the 9 and the 6 in this cell, we can eliminate the 7 and the 3. And like we knew before from the AIC type 2, this 8 is going to be false, but because there's a weak link in this cell, we can also eliminate the 3. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 eliminations by connecting those two turbo fish. And that is how you piece together a continuous loop. It's kind of like a Frankenstein method. All right, let's go to the next one. Now here in this diagram, we have another turbo fish on 8, and again, you can see there's nothing to be gained from it because there is no 8 in this highlighted cell. But we can keep going. We can make a weak link to this 8, and then a strong link to this 8, and again a weak link to this 8, and now we have a 6-link segment. And if we can connect these two blue 8s in this center vertical chute, we're going to have a continuous loop. So let's see what we can do. So first we can add those 3 1s, and now we need to connect this blue 8 up here with this yellow 1, and we can do it between the 9 and the 4. We can go strong to this 4, weak to this 4, strong to the 9, weak to this 9, and strong to the 1, and now we've got our continuous loop. So let's go through the links. We've got a weak link down here in block 9 between those two 8s, but there are no other 8s in that block. So now we've got a weak link between these two 8s in row 4, so this 8 has to be false because it can see a yellow 8 and a blue 8. Up here in row 2, we've got a weak link between the 8s, but there are no other 8s in that row. We've got a weak link between the 4s, and now that weak link lies in row 2 and in block 2. So we can eliminate all the 4s from those two houses, and we've got 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there. Okay? Then in column 5, we have a weak link between those two 9s, so this 9 is false. And then there's a weak link between these two ones, but there are no ones to be eliminated in column 5. And lastly, we have a weak link between the 1 and the 8 in this cell. So all 3 of these candidates are false. The 4, the 5, and the 6 can all be eliminated. And so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 eliminations from that continuous loop. All right, next. All right, here in this puzzle, we have 2 X chains, and that's going to be all we need. First, we have a skyscraper on 9 that looks like that. And then we have a 5-link X chain on 5 that looks like this. Okay? But notice that neither one of those X chains will produce any candidate eliminations. But if we look at them at the same time, like this, you will see that the endpoints of both of those chains lie in the same 2 cells. So we can make weak links between the 5s and the 9s in those cells, and now we get all these eliminations. We can eliminate the 1 and the 3 from this cell, and we can eliminate the 3 and the 6 from this cell. Okay? And then down here in row 6, we can eliminate these 2 5s because we have a weak link between these 2 5s in that row, and that's going to be it. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but all we needed was 2 candidates and 2 segments that we could piece together. All right, let's do another one. Here in this diagram, we have 2 3-link segments, and the first one is on candidate 6, and it looks like this. Okay? And the second one is on candidate 7, and it looks like this. And again, one of the endpoints of each of those chains lands in this same cell here in row 4, column 9, so we can connect those with a weak link. We're going to have to do it like this. Okay, that's 1 link. Now over here, we need to connect this 7 with this 6, and we can do it with the 3. We can make a weak link to this 3, and a strong link to this 3, and then a weak link to the 6, and we've got it. So here are the eliminations from this continuous loop. We have a weak link in this cell where both the endpoints land, so we can eliminate that 1 and that 8. They have to be false. And then we've got a 7 in the row with those 2 7s, the blue and the yellow 7. We can eliminate this one right here. And then in this cell, we've got a yellow 7 and a blue 3, so we can eliminate the 4 and the 2, okay? And in this cell, we have a 3 and a 6, so we can eliminate this 4 and this 2. But now you have to be really careful and look down here. We have a weak link between these 2 6s in this column, and there are 2 6s all the way down here, and you may not notice them at first, but you have to check the whole house. Every time you find a weak link, you've got to look in that whole house. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 9 eliminations from that continuous loop. All right, we're going to do one more, and then we're going to wrap it up. And of course, I saved the best one for last. This one will be composed entirely of bi-value cells. It is an XY chain that will function as a continuous loop. And so all the strong links will be within cells, and all the weak links will be between cells. As we are in the process of constructing an XY chain, and suddenly we arrive at a bi-value cell that can see the first cell of the chain, and those 2 cells contain a common candidate, we can link those 2 candidates with a weak link, and voila, we have a continuous loop. And because all the original strong links will be within the cells, that means there won't be any eliminations available in the cells, like we typically see in most continuous loops. All the eliminations here will be in the houses containing all the original weak links, i.e. the converted strong links. Got it? And as you can see, there are 2 naked singles in this puzzle, one here and one here. But I'm going to leave those in there for now, just so you can see what is possible with something like this. It will actually be of greater instructional value by not filling them in just yet. Okay, here we go. Let's mark the bi-value cells that we will be using, and then I'll map out the loop. This is so easy to put together because the only stipulation is that each pair of bi-value cells must lie in the same house, and they must share a common candidate, and boom, it's a beautiful continuous loop. Now, because this is a continuous loop, we could start on any of these candidates, and we could start on a strong link or a weak link, but let's start up here on this candidate 7 and make a strong link to this 9, okay? Then we're going to go weak to this 9, strong to the 4, weak to the 4, strong to the 3. Remember, all the strong links are going to be within the cells. Then we're going to go weak to this 3, strong to the 4, weak to the 4, strong to this 6, weak to this 6, strong to the 2, weak to this 2, strong to the 5, weak to this 5, strong to the 4, weak to this 4, strong to the 7, and then we can make a weak link right back to that first 7 in row 2. And that is a continuous loop, and it looks like this. So I hope you can all make sense out of that. And now we're going to make candidate eliminations in all the houses containing the weak links. So our first weak link was between these two 9s. So this 9 is false, and this 9 is false because they lie in the same column with that weak link. Then we have a weak link between these two 4s, so this 4 must be false. Then we have a weak link between these two 3s, so this 3 must be false over here. Now notice this is a naked pair of 4 and 3. So we know all these 4s and 3s over here are false, but let's look what's happening here. These two 4s are not really linked. They are linked indirectly because of the 3s. But because these two 4s over here can see a blue one and a yellow one, they must be false because one of those 4s has to be true there in row 8. Okay? Now we've got a weak link between these two 4s in that block, which means this 4 is false and this 4 is false. All right, next we've got a weak link between these two 6s in that column, so this 6 is false. The next weak link is between these 2s in column 6, and we've got a 2 here, and all the way down here we have another 2 in column 6. Then the next weak link is between these two 5s, and that weak link is in a block and a column at the same time, so we can eliminate this 5 out of the block, and we can eliminate this 5 out of the column. I hope I'm not missing any. All right, then we have a weak link between these two 4s in row 2, so these two 4s are false. But that weak link is also within block 2, so this 4 is also false. And then the last one is between these two 7s, and so that means this 7 is false and this 7 is false because they can each see a yellow 7 and a blue 7. And there you have it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 eliminations from this continuous loop made up entirely of bi-value cells. Pretty amazing, huh? So that is how continuous loops work, and I hope that all these examples have helped you understand how to construct them and realize how powerful they are. It has been said that every known Sudoku puzzle can be solved by using only chains of varying degrees of complexity. That's quite a statement, but it is reason enough for you to want to master as many kinds of chains and loops as you can. Okay, that's going to do it for today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please click the thumbs up icon and the red subscribe button, and be sure to click the little bell icon if you would like to be notified of new video uploads. In the next video, tutorial number 41, we're going to start learning about what are called discontinuous loops. These are loops that are not 100% perfect, but can still sometimes produce candidate eliminations and digit placements if certain specific conditions are met. So I hope to see you back here for that very interesting and important lesson. In the meantime, be well and be happy.